Welcome to the It's All Fine and Danjee podcast, where hosts Dan and Angie talk with creatives, small business owners, charities, and all kinds of interesting people. It's all real talk. It's all fine and Danjee.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in each and every week. And we have some very interesting guests in studio today. I know Dan has a lot of questions. I have a lot of questions.
I do, for sure.
Oh, yeah. Because I'm like, what is this? What's that? What is this? I tried to read a little bit on the website, but not too much because I like to be surprised with some of the things. So we have Dr. Carolina Brandon and Julie Turner from AirMed Wellness Center here in Orlando. And Julie is the integration and life coach there at the center. And then the doctor is the doctor, obviously.
Awesome. I can't believe you remembered that title. Good for you, because I forgot.
Thank you so much.
I mean, I did a little sneak peek on the notes, but hey, that's what I did. But welcome, guys. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Excited to have you on. When Julie reached out and told me what she was doing, I was like, oh, yeah, that sounds really interesting. Mm-hmm. So we'll get right into it. Anyway, it's a wellness center. So, all things wellness, basically. But you were just going to tell us something before we started recording about a technique that you use at the center.
Well, we work with psychedelic assisted therapy.
Which is super interesting to me. That's it's a cutting edge thing now, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It is.
Wow.
And we were talking about how to express ourselves in the podcast and what words were allowed and not allowed. But one of the exercises that we encourage the patients to use is eloquence. So we encourage them to use the most elegant words that they could possibly find. It's a pathway in your brain that detaches you from bad areas in the brain. We use a different neuropathway for usual language and for bad words. So when you're dropping the F-bomb and the S-bomb or whatever word that you choose, that is bad to you. And it could be in your own language. It doesn't have to be, it's not specially for English or anything else.
Yeah.
It's just what the word means to you. You use a different neuropathway. And the bad one goes very close, or it's physically very close to bad memories in your brain.
Wow.
So we encourage the patients to speak very eloquently. Find new words, find old words, find something different.
How about that? Because I always thought of it as especially I live in the corporate world in my day job. I'm in conference calls all the time. So we're very proper and there's not. But when that word is used, which is very few, it feels like a power word, like everybody's attention now.
Yes.
I say it puts... See, I should start retraining my brain because I say it puts emphasis on stuff.
Sometimes
I should find another word.
Like that's what you need. It makes you feel better sometimes, right? Almost.
It does.
It's like it's called for.
But it's different when you say it occasionally to put emphasis on something, that when you use it all the time and your brain goes immediately into that, especially the younger generation, that they will curse constantly.
Yeah.
Everything is like, bro, you this, you that.
Yes.
And then they're using that neuropathway and it's not healthy for them. So use your more eloquent words.
Yep.
And then just drop the F-bomb when necessary.
See, that makes sense to me because in my younger years, I cursed a lot. It's almost like you're trying to prove a point when you're just saying it all the time.
It reminds me, so when you're younger and you discover cuss words and when you're away from your parents and can say them, it reminds me of the movie I, Robot, where, who's the actor you like?
Will Smith is in that
Not Will
one, isn't
Smith, the young kid. He played in Holes.
Oh, Shia LaBeouf?
Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah.
He's cussing, and the cussing doesn't make any sense. It's like he's just using every cuss word that he can. And Will Smith's like, stop cussing. Stop. Because it's horrible. It reminds me, sometimes when you talk to people, though, it's a good point that you make about using it, replace it with something else. Because sometimes when you have a conversation with some people and they say it so much, you feel like you got more dumb by the end of the conversation.
Well,
yes.
You say eloquently, and I love that. So I'm a writer. I write novels as well. And as a writer, I think all writers could probably say this. I love language, and I love the way that certain sentences are put together. And sometimes things hit you because of the structure of a sentence.
Absolutely. I agree with you.
So that's interesting. I'm sure you would know like the psychological reason why a certain thing hits you a certain way, but I just feel it. You can feel it.
I wish I knew. I don't know why that happens. I don't know if it's known in the medical world. Why certain words or the way they're put together.
Yeah.
They just have an effect on you that is different than on her and on her, or it means something different when we're using exactly the same words and it's a different language.
Yeah, the way it hits you. Yeah.
We're learning, and psychedelic therapy now, it's opening a door that is so much bigger than what we're doing right now.
It's so not surprising to me.
Just at the beginning of figuring it out, what we can do in the mind, what is going on. And actually, before coming here last weekend, I was reading about, refreshing my mind and my knowledge because there's articles coming all the time about psychedelic therapy. Mm-hmm. So I was reading this article. I have a tendency to stay with medical articles, right? Not opinions by other people, but just the serious studies. So I was reading on the neurotransmitters and the receptors that we have in the brain that are allowing us to discover all this therapy and the applications of this therapy. At the end of this very long study, very difficult to read, they say, well, the proposed mechanism of action is this. We think this is the way it's working, but it may not be. So we really
the word we think, after all that you just read, you put in all that time and you're like,
absolutely.
What?
Is it because it's so new? Is that?
Well,
it's not really new.
Well, I mean, the psychedelic side, isn't it somewhat within the past 10 years or so? Is it?
It's been happening for decades, but now it's just more on the forefront. Like the FDA is part of it. And
I would say in new science, it's been happening for decades. Mm-hmm. But this you can trace back thousands of years into
indigenous peoples.
You also remind me. I think it's more formally. I don't want to go too much off the deep end, which I will if I'm not kept in check here by Angie.
Check.
But I just read last week about like a CIA program that was it's just been declassified. And I was reading it to her this morning, and you're like, are you kidding me? Where it's talking about psychedelics and out-of-body experiences. And this was what the CIA literally believed you could do with psychedelics in your brain. So there's obviously there's something to it.
Studied a long time here in this country.
So before we kind of get into those type of medications, I guess we could call them. So your clinic treats mainly was kind of founded on PTSD, depression, anxiety, a whole list of other things that we'll kind of get into.
Yeah.
And you're using a specific psychedelic to treat these.
Ketamine.
Yeah.
Ketamine. And that's when Julie, because she had her own story behind this, was she was just, very, I could hear it in your email when you sent it to me. You're like very passionate about, finding this and how it's helped you. Mm-hmm. So I guess, let's find out a little bit about ketamine. Like, what is it?
Well, can I back us up just a minute? I just want to find out why you started AirMed. I'm just interested in why you started the business before we get into the nuts and bolts.
I guess we should find out that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry.
My oldest son is a Marine.
Yep.
And through him, I was exposed to the brutal amount of PTSD, anxiety, and depression, suicide that we have in our veterans.
Oh, yeah.
It completely broke me, broke him, to have his kids from his platoon commit suicide after they came back from being deployed.
When you think everything's supposed to go back to normal. But
exactly.
Yeah.
But they're exposed to such intense situations there. Everybody fantasizes about what's going to happen when you go to war. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be this hero that you see at the movies. Well, it's not like that. No. So they come back and they have lost the capacity to be back into their normal life with normal people and not being under stress all the time.
Yeah.
That it switches something in their brain. So it's very difficult for them when they come back. So they commit suicide when they come back. And my son is a very smart man, and he couldn't, it's like nothing could help us, and medications, forget about it. I'm not going to be put into this, series of antidepressants and this and that. And none of them want it.
Mind, right?
Yeah.
None of them want it. So I'm a doctor, trained in traditional medicine, and I didn't know what to do. I had no argument for him.
Right.
And I literally stumbled upon a study from Johns Hopkins about these doctors that were working underground with LSD, treating veterans with PTSD. And these doctors are risking their lives doing this. I mean, they can lose their license, they can lose a patient, and go to jail, anything. So I read this article and I'm like, that really captured my attention. So I started reading and reading and reading and going more at it. After about 2.5 years, close to 3 years of reading, talking, sending emails to these people that were doing these studies. And we're talking 8 years ago, so they were kind enough to reply to me, send me information. You know, they would share their stories with me.
Yeah.
I said, well, you know, I have to do something about it. Like, if I believe what I'm reading, I have to try it.
Yeah.
And until I do so, I can't really tell a true story.
Yeah.
Right.
So I went ahead and I tried some of them myself. The experience was life-changing, like I would say, absolutely life-changing. And that opened a door. I was able to help other people doing that. And it came to a point that it was a rock on my shoe. It was something in front of me that I could not do.
Yeah.
I had to do it.
Is it? That's a very interesting backstory, and I know Angie wants to get into what it is and how it works. But is it legal now? Because you talk about how
yes,
it didn't used to
ketamine
be.
is.
Yeah. Wow.
Ketamine is legal. There are other ones that are not legal.
Yet, hopefully, yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we're getting a couple of them FDA approved in the next year. 2023 is going to be MDMA, and hopefully 2024 psilocybin.
I was going to ask about psilocybin specifically. Yeah.
Yeah, we're hoping that 2024 is going to be the year for psilocybin. All the studies are in phase 3.
Yeah.
And it's going to be, I think the social pressure that this is working was going to be to the point that it's going to, people are going to charge, like the FDA is going to say, okay, we have to do this. And the break point with the FDA is that it makes the insurance, it makes them pay for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the big barrier now, that insurances are not paying for it.
And a lot of people won't do it, even if they think it might be helpful, if it's going to break them and they're going to, lose everything because it costs so much.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's...
And you had this purpose behind it too. You see your son suffering. You see, he's not only suffering from the PTSD, now he has friends that he's lost because of this, which is something that's treatable, as you are proving. Right?
Yes.
I mean, it's
like years of therapy in
Yeah.
just a few sessions. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll talk off the air, but I have a general interest in it, honestly, because I think we all have, certainly not to the level of like being a Marine, and much respect to that, but I think we all have some form of, if you had a violent childhood or a bad, childhood like I had, then you're carrying stuff.
Yes.
Even if you went to regular therapy.
Yeah. So I love what you said, Carolina, about trying it yourself first,
Yeah, me
because
too.
how can you promote something if you haven't experienced it? So, and it was life-changing for you. And I know, Julie, you have your own story as well. Can you go into a little bit of that, about what just kind of, how did you get there? How did you get to this, this type of therapy?
Well, I took the long road. For the last few years, I've been, I started actually with ayahuasca ceremonies and just other psychedelics and plant medicines. And that actually, and I had a psychedelic assisted life coach that I was working with. And she introduced me to at-home small doses of ketamine after our sessions. And for me, after the big events I'd already gone through with plant medicine, and within the ketamine was able to almost seep into the dark recesses that were exposed now, but not coming
Interesting
forward.
way to say that. Yeah.
It was really phenomenal for me. It was really profound and effective. And so, excuse me, my cold, I'm wheezing.
Oh, that's okay.
Based on that, I reached out to Carolina and said, "Hey, this is my passion. This is my purpose. Let's hook up." And it was meant to be, because she responded and we just hit it off. And it's been just a wonderful, I wouldn't say partnership, but You know, we're two peas in a pod for
Yes.
sure.
Oh, I love
Absolutely.
that. I love that. And
Yes.
I know we're going to walk through this in the conversation. It's like one of these things where I'm so excited to find out
know.
more because full disclosure, when I was in high school and stuff, I was a partier and we smoked pot and did all that kind of stuff. And everyone would do LSD once in a while.
Yes.
I did it once and it scared me really bad. So I didn't do it anymore. And so I've always been afraid of psychedelics and afraid that taking a psychedelic is going to open this portal in my brain. I'm going to have this horrible experience and end up in like a mental institution. So I really would like to get into what it does and how it works.
And you know, the number one thing, the number one difference really is they all are different, right? But it's set and setting. You were in a party, you weren't safe.
Right.
So you're safe in the clinic or where, whatever it is. If it's set and setting and intention or set,
Yeah.
it's a totally different ball of wax.
And you're walked through the whole
yeah,
thing,
and it can
right?
be scary, but
Yeah.
it's scary from a safe place with people that keep you safe.
Yeah,
as
see,
opposed to just being in a party and you're out of your
I
mind.
also,
Right.
I think it has to do with dosage as well, and that it's not just like
They're not giving you a
somebody
bunch of
off the
beers
street.
first,
That you're,
right,
you're
yeah.
not just going to in the street and being
Right.
like, "Hey, give me some of that." You
Right.
know, that's a totally different experience when you get that from anywhere off the street.
Of course, but I wanted to address the anxiety around doing it because I'm sure I'm not the only one that's like, that might be really beneficial, but I'm kind of scared, you know? Do you get that from patients that are afraid?
We do.
Every one of them.
We do. We do get a lot of anxiety around what is inside of me that I'm perfectly fine avoiding it.
Yeah.
I suffer, but I can survive without going into those dark places.
Right.
Now you're going there.
Right.
And you're doing it on purpose.
My dad used to say, keep the wolves at bay.
Exactly.
You
It's like
know?
the devil I know
Exactly.
versus the devil I don't know.
Yeah.
So what Julie said is so true. You know, you come to us and from the moment you walk in, every word we say is directing into putting you in a good place so you will be able to relax and open up and not be afraid of going to these dark places and checking them out. Because now when we have those dark places, let's say, you had them as a memory of the moment that they happened when you were 10 or 12 and you had that violent moment, right?
Yeah.
You keep that memory as it is. Now you're going back to that memory, but you're not the same person.
Yeah.
You're a different person. Now you have grown up, you have other defense mechanisms, and you're looking at the same memory from another angle.
It's like the Butterfly Effect movie where he goes back, he reads his journals and he goes back to those traumatic times. And
Exactly. It's
handles it.
exactly
But from a
that.
safe.
yeah.
From a safe
Yeah.
place. Now you can open your eyes and you will see that you're at the clinic, you're safe, you have a monitor. I'm around, Julie sitting with you. If you need to hold a hand or say something, or if you're shaking, a lot of people shake, so we give them, warm blankets and
Yeah.
we make you feel safe.
Yeah.
So going to explore those memories is not as scary and actually very healing because you revisit them and you can see, look at that, I was 10 and that happened to me. Well, I'm not 10 anymore.
Yeah.
Now I can analyze that, okay, that happened, but I'm okay and I survive, or what were the reasons involved into that. It just helps you to revisit the trauma, helps you heal.
And
Yeah.
you can release it because it's still there, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you just ignore it and tamp it down, it's still affecting you emotionally and physically
like-
eventually.
Yeah, and physically.
I
Physically,
know.
all that.
What's the thing I say? Just stuff it down. Just stuff it right
Don't-
down.
don't stuff it
talk
down.
about it. Stuff it.
Don't look at it exactly. Just
Don't look at it. Yeah.
Don't look
Release
at it.
it.
Don't look at
Release it.
But but I love the
Absolutely.
way you said that because that was going to be one of my next questions. Is I've been to regular therapy for many years and I found it to be very helpful. But I always wondered when you're combining it like this, does it make it easier to get to and then easier to release? Because in regular therapy, sometimes it's years of before you
Yeah.
figure out what the real problem is anyway.
Yeah, and kind of walk us through it. So, what would a session look like? Because it sounds like you might have a consultation first. Like, kind of walk us through the process of what a session would look like.
Well, the first step is to get in touch with me. I will talk to all my patients. I interview all my patients. Usually we do it on the phone. It's easier. And you fill out some applications, some forms that would give me all your medical information, because there are some contraindications or some things that I need to be aware of.
The interview makes you tell if you can or can't do it.
Exactly. From the medical point of view, if you're allowed to, if it's safe to give ketamine to you. Some people we have said, I'm sorry, I cannot.
Because they have like a heart condition or something?
If they have a heart condition, if you have a thyroid condition, if they have, high pressure in their brain for a tumor or something else.
Oh, okay.
There are a few contradictions. Thank God there are only a few of them. And I can work around most of them because my background is anesthesia. So that's, it's very easy for me to do.
Oh, of course.
So, most of the people are allowed to come. They can come. But we do, the initial conversation. I explain a lot of things. I listen sometimes for a very long time because the patients, they call me, they're at the last moment. They're desperate.
Yeah.
They've tried, they've exhausted
They've tried everything else. They're
Okay.
frustrated with what they're doing. They're tired of taking medications or not getting better, or they're very deep into their dark places and they need to get out of it. So they build up the courage. So they call me and I try to make on that first call, make you feel comfortable enough that you have enough knowledge about what's going to happen to come to the center.
Yeah.
Once we make an appointment, you come to the center, you can't eat for 4 hours prior. We prepare you, don't take this medication, take that one. We're
So
aware.
it's like a full-on medical procedure.
It
It's
is.
like when you're going to get surgery or something. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Wow.
My interview is totally medical at that point. You don't realize that I'm doing that.
Yeah.
Because I will guide you in a different way, but that's what we're doing. And then I communicate with Julie. We're in agreement of what this person needs, what they're coming, what are we looking for. If they have another therapist, then we seek what is bothering you. So
I was
when
going to ask, are you getting down to that root of what are the things that you're trying to get release, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
And that's what we for the packages that are offered. They get 30-minute calls with me, 2 for every session. And so we really try to promote that first call happening before their first session. Because a lot of people come in, they're nervous, they don't have an intention, they're just coming in with no focus on anything. And they really aren't getting the full benefit from that first session. You know,
You have to just get them in the right lane to
And
start
that's
with.
kind of help them
Exactly.
find their intention and
Yeah.
what is it that is bringing you to this medicine, and have them maybe work on a mantra and journal about it for
Sure.
a day or two before to really get them in that mindset is key.
It is. Absolutely.
Yeah, because that's when people walk out and say, "Oh, it doesn't work on me" or whatever, because there's a mental part to it, right? That you have to kind of be focused on what is the thing that's really bothering you.
It's
Not a magic
that
bullet.
thing that you stuffed
Right,
way down there, right?
Yes.
That you've been
Doesn't
trying
just
to
go
get
away.
out.
Yeah. I mean, otherwise you might as well be back at the party in high school with me because
Yeah.
you're like, you know what I mean? You're not, you got to do your side. You don't just take it and boom.
And
Look, here's
that's
my
the
problems.
hardest part is doing your part is the
Yeah.
hardest part. Like the integration, and whether it's with your therapist or with an integration coach, that's the hard part.
Yeah.
But that's also equally important. It's like that's the important part.
Yeah.
Of course.
Explain
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Just keep ignoring that.
Explain the integration coach. Like, explain what that means.
Well, so when you take the medicine, you kind of disassociate and you go to these places, wherever it might be. Everybody's different. And you can revisit memories about a lot of time with your childhood and a lot
Yeah.
of grief and regrets that you have or the way you were treated. And you don't really know how to make sense of it all. Some of it doesn't make sense. And so is it the first 72 hours after you take it? You're really still kind of in it, and you've got this neuroplasticity and this ability to rewire those neural pathways.
Oh,
Yeah.
we've talked about that
Yeah.
a lot. Yeah.
That's another, let's call it brain technology, for lack of a better term, that has always been fascinating to me.
Yeah.
That the brain has the ability to rewire itself.
So they didn't used to think that, right? This is all fairly new.
Yeah.
But with the ketamine, it's significant. And so for those first 72 hours after, you have all these possibilities of rewiring and also revisiting and kind of making sense of what you went through during that hour or hour and a half.
Yeah.
And processing it and talking about it. Because the way we get rid of these traumas that have happened to us that we're sitting on is to speak them.
Yeah.
Just speak the truth will set you free. There's a reason for that saying, right?
Yeah.
Write them out in your journal. So we talk about journaling and then also prepping if they're coming again. So that's kind of what the integration is. It's just kind of what the hell was that?
Yeah.
And what does it mean? And how do I continue to get rid of this?
Yeah, how do
and
I
be better?
process this?
What do I
like,
do
what
with it?
what do I do
Trust
with this
me,
information?
the ketamine is the easy part of the process.
Yeah.
What Julie does is the most difficult part. When you sit with her and you have to really confront your truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The ketamine will open the door, but you really have to walk through it. You really have to be able to sit there and admit it and see it and feel it and be able to get it out. A lot of people, the people that don't get the advantage from the ketamine, usually that's what they don't do. They come, they get the ketamine, and I'm fine. Yeah, I dissociated. I'm okay. But they don't sit there and have the courage, because it takes courage.
Of course.
To sit there and be able to say, okay, this is my truth.
Yeah.
This is what's bothering me.
And then they just go right back.
Really.
Yeah.
Yes.
They go right back to
They're
where they were.
afraid to look at themselves in the mirror. You are the hardest judge of yourself.
Yeah.
And there's some truth about you that only you know.
Yeah.
Only you know what to ask, where to go. What is the thing that you're really avoiding? No therapist is going to find that out.
Yeah.
You have to open that door.
And I feel like even if, I can only speak from my own experience, but I feel like with traditional therapy, the value that I found with it was less about maybe the therapy gets you, it takes longer. It gets you to where you, hopefully in a best case scenario, like I feel like mine was after 15 years of it or 10 years of it or whatever it was, where you can address the thing, you know what the thing is, you can address it. And if you're like me, you're wired to want to go address it and walk through that door and do that. To me, it sounds like this maybe gives you the opportunity to do that without having to go to 10 years of therapy. And
That's what some people proclaim, that the results that they're getting is 10 years of therapy in one session.
Yeah.
I wish it was that easy for everybody. But we
depends
do
on your brain, yeah.
Depends on the brain, how willing you come to really go there. You have to be really open for it.
Sure.
You have to be prepared. Like Julie said, you have to prepare for it.
I always felt like, what's the point of going if you're not, going to do your work? You're just wasting your money and really, and your time and your energy.
A lot of people, I think there are people out there that think it'll just be better. It'll fix me.
Like a doctor, like when you go for like a tonsils removed or something.
Yeah, but it doesn't. Yeah,
But isn't
body
that
in a bottle.
That's the world. That's the culture that we live in.
Right.
We want that now.
Right.
We want that right
Give me
now.
something
Give it
to
me.
fix me.
Right now.
I want to feel no pain.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I want results right now.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And
Yes.
Angie, when she was doing like the health and wellness stuff and taking all of her courses, she would even tease me a little bit because you get a headache, you take a pill, and I'm like, I don't think it works. She's like, it's been 15 minutes.
Calm down.
Relax.
Relax, give it time.
But then I learned natural medicine works and it's better for you, but it does. You gotta stay on a routine of taking something. You can't take. I was going through some medical stuff where I'd take these kind of herbs or whatever, and it would be like a week later, and it would be like, you've taken it for a week. It's not going to work yet. But that's the culture, isn't that the culture? We're so used to taking
We
the
want it
pill,
fast.
right? And just for those of you listening that don't, now I'm going to really botch this, and then they're going to fix it for me. But neuroplasticity. This is my non-technical description, my Joe Average description of this. But the way I read about it and what was so cool about it to me was they used to think if you had like a head injury and a section of your brain was damaged or removed, that particular section say, oh, that controlled your right arm. So you're never going to use your right arm again now because the part that worked on that arm is gone. And more recently, they've learned they can train another section of your brain that didn't originally control that arm to control the arm. It's really, to me, it's like rewiring another spot, which is super cool to me. Did I describe that properly?
You did a very good job. Yes.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
So I understand it at least at some level.
It is not easy, but neuroplasticity is something that we're just starting to understand and to learn how to tap into it and really take advantage of it. We used to think that the brain was very static.
Yeah.
It was something that, okay, you're born with that and that's it. Mm-hmm. But now we know that by exercising, by actually stimulating it electrically once and again, because that's the way the brain works, is electricity with energy, which is oxygen and sugar. Yeah. So we tap into it many times and you stimulate a specific area, you can get it to replace, it's not going to be perfect, but you can still have use of your arm.
It's crazy though. It's
and
crazy.
not only physical with like issues you have about something. So say somebody's afraid of bugs to like the nth degree, and they're going to die if a bug gets on
And
them.
they can't sleep at night thinking about bugs.
Well, your daughter used to be like this. I think she's
that's
a little
right.
bit. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm talking. It could be the tiniest gnat that you couldn't see with your eye, and she knew it was there,
I
and
think
she was
she's
freaking out.
I think she's
Absolutely.
gotten better as she's gotten older, but she still does, she's still one of those people that does not, if there's like a bug or something on her, she's not going to be happy.
Yeah, but that is something with that neuroplasticity that you can even fix that.
Retrain it.
Retrain
those
the
thoughts.
brain.
Yeah.
Retrain.
Because usually it's an association, right? That you had a
Yes.
bad experience or a trauma. She had a bug on her and at a very young age or something. It was a trauma, maybe ants or something.
Yeah.
And so she's associating all of that experience with that one time. One time, right?
It's all it takes.
Yeah.
Is one time. The way I like to explain it to my patients is we use on our daily basis, we navigate through the same routes. So we use the same avenues to go where we need to go on a daily basis, and that keeps us going.
Yeah.
It will block a lot of the things that are around us that we actually don't see. And you have been in situations like that and you don't realize. You're so concentrated in one thing, right? The gorilla study, remember? It was a psychological study done that you have a bunch of people passing a basketball. And you tell the subjects that are looking at this scene, you have to count how many times the black people touches the ball or how many times the ball is passed. And you have 10 people looking at another 10 passing the ball. When in the middle of this scene, someone dressed as a gorilla comes in the middle of them, jumps around and goes away. At the end of the study, they ask how many times was the ball passed. 15, 20, 23, whatever number. What about the gorilla? And they say, what gorilla? They didn't see it. There's a lot of things that we go about.
Because they're so focused on
Exactly.
Okay, you scared me when you said the black people passing the ball. I got
No.
confused.
To people who are dressed in a black outfit or a white outfit. Sorry, I wasn't specific enough.
Thank you for clearing that. Yeah.
I was thinking,
with a white outfit.
what is she doing?
No. Or people wearing a black outfit and a white outfit. You had to count how many times the people with the dress out, the black outfit would touch the ball or the white outfit. So you concentrated on looking at that, and you don't see the gorilla that came in the middle.
That is
the
crazy.
same way we go about our daily lives, and we don't see a lot of things that are around us.
Yeah.
We're just using those same avenues.
Because in your sort of example of our life where we're walking around not seeing things, is it because in those scenarios, is it because of trauma that we purposely just avoid things, you're saying? Or is it just because you're saying a habit forms, and as a form of habit, that's why you didn't notice the bank robber, because you're doing your same way? Okay, that's what you mean. I got you. It's because you park here every time.
It works in all levels.
Yeah, so you park here every time. Yep.
Yeah, it works on trauma. So you avoid going through that avenue, or on contrary, you go through that avenue every day, every moment of your life, and that will shape the way you react to things.
Yeah. Yeah.
At the same time, your mind is trained not to see everything around you, because otherwise you wouldn't do anything.
Yeah.
If you have to look at every fiber of the carpet or every fiber of this material, then you never go anywhere.
Yeah.
You concentrate on just counting
I love this. This is the kind of nerd news stuff I say that I read all the time.
Always.
Not just therapy, but just I'm totally mesmerized by the way the brain works, and the way I just read something about that, about how all the inputs that your brain is getting, part of what it's doing is blocking some of it so you don't lose your mind with overstimulation.
Absolutely.
And not to bring it back to my books again, but I write psychological thrillers because I am mesmerized by the way your mind can play tricks on you. And your story may not be what's really happening, the unreliable narrator kind of thing, because that happens in real life where your traumas are playing, and when you tell somebody what happened to you, it's not really what happened to you. That's your perception of what happened to you.
There you go.
Very well done. Yes.
So now you revisit that, and now you have a different perception.
Yes.
And you have the courage to admit and to go there and say, okay, this is what I thought happened.
Right.
And this is maybe what really happened, or another perspective, or the other person that was involved. Why did that person committed that aggression, or was so violent, or something like that? You don't get to see it unless you open that door.
Yeah.
So you have to open that door. And like I said, the marvelous thing is that we're just tapping into this.
Yeah.
We're just starting to learn.
It just makes you wonder where it's going to be in 20 years.
I'm excited.
Me
Yeah.
too. We're going to
So
have it
excited.
mapped all the way out. And this is obviously, I know I'm zoning in on this. This is obviously a very interesting aspect of what you guys do. But you do a few other things there that are particularly interesting to me. Like you do massages as well, right?
Yes.
And you guys mix that with the
With the ketamine.
therapy. Okay,
Yes.
so
That
how do
helps.
you do that? Is
Well,
it
we have
topical
patient-
or
No,
is that
IV.
administered? Okay.
IV. My favorite way to administer ketamine is through an infusion because I'm always there and I can change the infusion to adapt it to what you need. Give you
Okay.
more, give you less, make it longer, make it shorter. Whatever you need at that moment, I will, feel you, or Julie's there and telling me, this person is really not going anywhere. Maybe a little more will help. Not everybody needs a strong dissociation to heal, but some people do. So we can manipulate the infusion. Once I give you a shot intramuscular or I give you something orally, I can't change that.
Yeah, it's gonna.
You took it to what it is and it's gone. You're set. So we have a lot of patients that have chronic pain. A lot of the things that I say that I treat in our clinic, it's things that are associated with anxiety. So all the autoimmune diseases, all the gut diseases, all the, other things, neurological things that you have. You have chronic pain. Your brain learned that you have pain in this area and now you have anxiety around it and you change your life and you're depressed about it. So it all comes together. I'm not going to fix the injury with the ketamine, but I will change the anxiety that you have around it. So we're always treating the same thing. It's anxiety.
Treating anxiety in that example, does it help with the autoimmune diseases and the gut disease and all that? Or is it inflamed by the anxiety?
Ketamine has a component of it that we're studying, and I just read another article about it, that has an anti-inflammatory effect per se.
Yeah.
But all the autoimmune diseases, most of them, have a strong anxiety component.
That's what I mean. So if you address the anxiety, does it make those issues reduce potentially? Okay.
Yes.
Well,
because anxiety,
potentially,
and stress of any kind in itself brings inflammation.
Yes.
And that, that chronic, being at a high anxiety level, we've talked about this before.
are you looking at me?
Well, you're not as bad anymore, but that high anxiety stress level, it leaves your body in that constant fight or flight. And
You've got all these
but there's no
cortisol and everything's.
You never come down from it. You're just constantly. It's like your body.
It's your
is
heart
just
rate, your
raging
blood
through your
pressure,
body.
and your immune system.
Well, that's funny because I never put this together, but not just for I know I'm being very candid here, but not just for myself. I have autoimmune issues. I have gut issues. I have anxiety. And a lot of people in my family have all those same things. So, wow, I never thought of the association between anxiety and those. That's impressive.
So the idea of the massage came because we have patients that have chronic pain. And ketamine has historically, in that sense, has been used for a long time. We use it as an anesthetic and as analgesic too in surgery or for sedation for small procedures. So in that sense, it's very good for pain. We usually change the infusion to make it very long. And then I said, well, those people need a massage. They will benefit from releasing the muscle tension and the fascia that is keeping all that anxiety locked up. Why don't we combine it? So I started researching. It's one clinic in Seattle and maybe another one now in California that are doing the same thing. So it's very new. We're discovering how far we can go with the infusion because you're in a different table. So I don't want anybody to fall, and hurt themselves or something like that. But with the ketamine, you're going to release your anxiety a little bit. So you're going to be able to relax and make more out of the massage than if you have muscle tension.
I bet.
And now you're afraid because she's going to touch me in that place that is going to hurt me. And then I'm
That's
tense.
smart,
And
yeah.
it's like I'm fighting the masseuse and I can't release the muscle. So we're combining it to see how far we can go with the ketamine.
Wow.
To
That's
take more
interesting.
advantage. So people who are, usually you go to the chiropractor, you go to the acupuncturist, we want to integrate
I've done
that
both
too.
many times.
Exactly. Now you have something, it's like, it's not a Valium, but it's something that is going to relax you. You're going to take more advantage of it.
Wow.
Yeah. And you're actually going to, get benefit in the long run from it.
Because it will decrease your anxiety too.
Yeah.
So you walk out very relaxed.
I would wonder too if, I'm just thinking here while you're speaking, is if it would also help for those people in the world that have had childhood traumas or traumas, physical traumas of touch, and kind of you're in the ketamine and then you're also being touched and just kind of, I would
Connecting
bet that would be very beneficial as well.
Yeah, I would think so too. And I
See
would also,
how the ideas flow whenever you're just talking. You're like, oh, an idea.
and I was over here
Wow.
thinking, and I'm outside of the professional side of it, but I was over here thinking, if you have anxiety about taking something like ketamine, if you're getting massage, it seems like that also might make you less like freaked out about taking it too,
Yes.
because
Yeah.
truth be told, I wouldn't get a massage at all for most of my life because I'm like, I don't want somebody touching me. And the first time I got one, I was like, that was
Why haven't I been
amazing.
doing this forever?
It feels really good.
Yeah, I know.
So I'm just imagining that combined with something you have anxiety about and taking it might actually help that too. You guys do, this is off topic a little bit, but it's another service that you offer that I also find interesting for different reasons.
Yeah.
But you do hydration or hangover repair therapy. Is that right?
Yeah,
Yes.
IV
IV
hydration.
therapy, IV hydration, minerals, and vitamins. A lot of the people that have anxiety and depression are low in some vitamins. They may be high on heavy metals. There's a lot of things that we ingest.
I
that
should be on
have
the cover
metal.
of your book at this point, by the way.
A lot of the vitamins, they're not FDA regulated, so they're poorly prepared and they have a lot of heavy metals.
Yeah.
If you drink tea and coffee, they have a lot of pesticides and they have a lot of heavy metals. Have heavy metals in your body is affecting everything. They interfere with the metabolic reactions that we have every second.
Yeah.
So those are affecting low vitamin D, low vitamin B, low magnesium, low calcium, everything. So it will affect the level of your energy. Now imagine you wake up, you're tired. You're tired. You don't have
Fatigue, your immune system.
There you go.
Yeah.
Everything.
I'm over here washing down my prescription vitamin D with a cup of coffee. I'm not even exaggerating. Wow.
I mean, you find everybody that is low on vitamin D. And
Yes.
we live in Florida. You're like, what? How is this even possible?
Right.
But
But
we
it
spend
is.
so much time
Yes.
inside.
I mean,
that,
look at all the technology, right?
Yeah.
But I was kind of joking about the hangover thing, but it works for that, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Because
and
it's
this is like a
dehydration.
new and upcoming thing that the clinics that are doing the IV hydration.
Yes.
It's just, I mean, doesn't it make the most sense though? It's like you're putting the vitamins that your body needs specifically, because you don't need that whole multivitamin. You don't
Right.
necessarily need everything in there if you're eating a balanced meal, which
Right.
most
Yeah.
of us aren't, but if you don't necessarily need it all, but maybe you have a condition where you're low in vitamin B. I have something
And
where
if
I
you
am.
have a gut
Yep.
problem, you're not absorbing them.
That's right.
Which is more than half the problem.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're not absorbing your vitamins. You have the wrong flora in your intestine. And we need the flora to absorb the vitamins. So you're not. When I give it to you IV, the absorption is 100%.
How often do you have to give it? Like if someone is on IV treatment for vitamins per se, how often do they have to do it? Daily?
We
Weekly?
weekly to
Okay.
start, and we monitor your levels. So it depends on your levels and how you're feeling. Then we spread them out some more.
Does that involve blood work, getting blood work done to test
Yes.
levels before you get started? Mm-hmm. So it's, this is like it's a doctor's visit because
is.
you're needing to, find out where the starting point is, and then you're monitoring it throughout.
We try to make the clinic that doesn't feel like a medical office. We have a emotional support dog that will greet
that was
you
on my list. It was on my list.
As soon as you walk in, Bailey will run to you and greet you.
What kind of dog?
He's a golden doodle.
Oh, hell no.
Yes. He's a brat. So he loves attention. He wants to be there and greeted by everybody. And it's funny because he knows who to follow. He knows who to go and sit by. Sometimes he sits at the room and he won't leave. You can't make him leave. Or somebody's going through something very deep, he goes and he scratches on the door. He'll ask to be let in, and he touches the hand of that person, like telling them, you're okay.
Man,
You're
dogs
here.
are the best.
They're amazing. And he is exhausted at the end of the day.
I bet he is.
Well, because he's, taking
all
that
that.
energy,
He's absorbing all that energy.
I mean, they know
Yes.
things we don't know. They do. Like you can't, if anybody didn't know, I say we can't talk.
Well, it's like if you have a dog, you met our emotional support dog when you got here.
Yes.
She is our emotional support dog.
But you can tell when a dog is in tune with you, and emotional support dogs are trained to be in tune with everybody. But when a dog is in tune with you, when you get mad or upset, they come over right away. Like, hey, it's okay. It's okay. Everything's okay, dude. It's funny how they just know that, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
They know you need a little love.
Yeah. But they're just wired to know. It's crazy.
On one of my experiences with psychedelics, I'm going to refrain from mentioning which one, he lay down next to me, this same dog.
Yeah.
I am his service human. So he lay down next to me, and he would not be separated from me.
Oh, wow.
Yes. The person that was with me at that moment tried to make him move from me, and he would not move.
Wow.
He stood there.
He needed to be
he
there.
He knew he needed to be there with me.
That is amazing. I know you don't want to mention certain ones, and I get it, but one of the reasons I was kind of so interested in this conversation with you both is, I don't know if you watched it with me, Angie. I feel like you did, but there's like a documentary about one of these places you can go to where you take psilocybin. I don't even think it's in the country. And there's therapists there
Peru.
that go, is it Peru? And that go, walk you through. And it's the first time I ever heard of anything like this. But the documentary kind of followed a few people through that had serious trauma, serious problems. And
It's where they microdose, but they're going by whatever your trauma was, whatever, and this is, of course, wasn't not legal. So you got to go somewhere else to do it.
Like 100% of the patients were like, this was a life-changing to me. And of course, then I was like, wait a minute, what is
all
this
microdose? That's all. They're all just microdosing for a certain amount of time.
I
That
don't
was
remember.
this play, whatever we were watching.
I know I don't know if it's all microdosing, because they do have a
that's true.
major hallucinogenic, but like they're guiding you
That's
through.
not microdosing.
Yeah.
Hero
But
dose.
maybe I'm not saying the words right. It was tailored to each person.
Yeah.
Definitely. It wasn't
Microdose-
just like, here's a bunch of, drink from this
Right.
kettle.
It's guided and
was-
everything.
Right.
Just like you said, microdosing is
Basically,
when you
yeah.
take such a little amount you can't feel it, right?
Yes.
Correct.
Over a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
Well, that's what we said, with infusions. That's why I like the infusion so much, because I will tailor it to your needs. And some patients don't need a strong dissociation. They're fine with a very mild dissociation. They're just barely out of their minds or in an altered state of mind. And some people just need to go very, very deep.
yeah.
So I am very flexible in my, dosing. I start with something about the same for everybody, and then I alter it and I see how much you need.
Okay. And how long does it take? Like, how long does a session take? How long is somebody there usually?
That's a great question. Yeah.
Because,
Well, it takes a long time. You're usually at the clinic for no less than 2 hours.
Yeah.
Because you come in, then we sit, we talk, Julie goes, talks, puts your mind into the proper setting, create an intention. Now I go in, I put the RV, and we start the infusion. The infusion can be as long as 4 hours for chronic pain, 2 hours, hour and a half, depends on what you need.
yeah.
Does it go away fast? Since it's intravenous, does it, like when you're done and you take the IV out, does you start coming back to normal pretty quick?
Yes, it's the metabolic rate is about 45 minutes. You process it and it's technically out of your system now, but you still have, I like to call it 3 windows.
Yeah.
The first window is when you're under the ketamine. Right there at that moment, and immediately after, I would say about an hour after, you're very much into that altered state of mind.
Yeah.
Then you have the second window, which is the first 48 to 72 hours. Strong neuroplasticity. It can come back to you. You can dissociate again very mildly.
Like a flashback. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Wow.
So you can go back there. We encourage at that moment to do the integration therapy because you're very vulnerable. You're very open at that moment.
Yeah.
So you're really still there into those dark crevices that Julie said. So we encourage you, go there. Don't avoid it. Just go there and explore what is in there.
Yeah.
Then this third window is 2 weeks of the magic neuroplasticity. So that's when the tools, we call it the tools that we're going to give you. Go ahead and journal. Talk to your therapist again. take long walks, do anything that creates a meditative state of mind.
Yeah.
So eloquence.
It's like you're tapping into it
Yes.
again.
Eloquence, yoga, meditation. Just sit there and just stay with yourself. Sit with it.
But people have a hard time doing that, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So
The
that's
stillness.
keeping people still, being okay with yourself, because maybe they're the avoidance of those things that
course.
might come up when they're by themselves.
But that's why they're coming, and that's why we try to say,
Yeah. This is the last, they feel like this is the last resort, kind of. But hopefully this will be the first resort as this kind of, is progressing in the research that's done on it, and they're, seeing all these positive things that are happening. Hopefully this will be the first thing. I did have a question about ketamine, because we worry about, people, are taking painkillers for their chronic pain and getting addicted. Is it addictive at all? Or is it more just the feeling that, you know what I mean?
I'm going to use a strong word now.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
Oh, good. No, but that's great though, because
Yes, ketamine
so many
is
people don't take those other
non-addictive,
things
yes.
because I'm afraid I'll get addicted to it, and then
Is
they
it-
are suffering
Yeah,
because
of
of
course.
they're not taking something.
It seems like, things like this, it almost seems like they are made for this in a way, isn't it? What is ketamine made from? Do you know?
It's an anesthetic. It's synthetic. It's an
Okay.
anesthetic component.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yes, I could tell you the whole
Okay, that's
name.
why-
I'll have to read it. It's so
Yeah.
long. Okay, but it's something that has been used for the last 60, 80 years probably
Wow.
now as an anesthetic.
Yeah.
Okay, it has analgesic properties. It has that dissociative use that we used to block. When I started medicine close to 30 years ago, we used to block. We used benzodiazepines. We give it to you before so you will not dissociate.
Yeah.
Because if it's not guided, it could be terrifying.
Yeah.
So we used to block that effect. Now we use it
The other way.
the other way. I want you to dissociate. In this controlled environment, let's explore that area so we can tap into it and make use out of it.
That's where the breakthroughs are coming through now.
Yes.
But do they use ketamine in regular surgery, when
Yes.
you're getting put out? Because I
Yes.
just recently had surgery where I got put
I
out.
use it all the time.
Is it always used in anesthesia?
It's not necessarily always, but
Yeah.
in certain surgeries, like if you're going to have orthopedic surgery,
Yeah.
it's very good to prevent the pain that you're going to have afterwards.
I probably had it because I had a hip surgery, so
Yes.
I probably had it.
Wow.
Yeah.
If the anesthesiologist was really good and really
Mm-hmm.
into the modern anesthesia, we use it in very small doses after your sleep. I don't
Mm.
use it to put you to sleep. I just give it to you before they cut you. So I am blocking the receptors to avoid
Mm.
that pain from happening
Oh.
or decreasing it a lot.
Interesting.
Yes.
That
Is it
is
because
very-
your body still knows what's happening?
Of course.
You're just out.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Blocks that.
That's why
That's
you
another-
have the pain when you wake up from a
Yes.
surgery. Usually, yeah.
That's another study that is ongoing right now is where your mind goes when I put you to sleep.
Because we always wonder that, don't we? We're like,
Where
how
are
did
you?
I not? How is the last thing I remember them putting my leg up in this thing, up in the air? You know
All
what
of
I
that
mean?
is so fascinating to me. It's the same thing as dreams. All of it is very similar to me.
Mm-hmm.
There's something else going on when you get in that state.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think, it's like
We don't know.
we don't know yet.
No.
But
It's
yet.
why it makes sense that if you can use an anesthetic like that to put somebody to sleep and they go to la la land somewhere and they don't remember anything, why can't we use it for something like this that we're talking about, rewiring, and why
It can be
can't
beneficial
we?
for multiple
We
things.
can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do I would say it's a very informal study that I do with my patients when I put them to sleep. I have a very short period of time that I can talk to them. They're usually very vulnerable. They're scared. I'm going to put them to sleep. They're having surgery. So it's scary
Yeah,
to them. So
of
they're
course.
very open to what I'm going to say. So I have my funny techniques. They're called the Brandon techniques. We joke in surgery because I developed them and it's my technique.
Yeah.
So I will use, pressing on the mantra pressure points, be in your forehead, in your chest, and make you take a deep breath. And sometimes I tell that the veterans, policemen, firemen, they wake up very aggressively.
Yeah.
They can wake up very aggressively because they're trained to react that way.
They're like, they had their defenses were down.
Exactly. So they're trained to wake up that way, and they can hurt me or they can hurt themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I should be more concerned about them, but I don't want to be hit when they wake up. And I have.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
I have.
wow.
And they have no control of their
They don't,
strength.
yeah.
So they're going to go at
Yeah.
me.
And they don't
full
even know what
force.
they're doing.
They don't know. So I tell them, I said, well, I'm very little. Please don't hurt me. When you wake up, don't hit me. And I tell them, you have to wake up very calm and relaxed so you won't hurt me when you wake up. And I look at their eyes when I'm saying this, and I'm pushing the anesthetic. So I'm kind of giving them
Programming
an
them.
idea.
Yeah.
I'm implanting myself in there, and they wake up, and the first thing they say, did I hit you?
They,
But
but it's stuck.
it's the last thing I said.
Yes.
It's the first thing they say.
Wow. So it's
So it goes there. And in that sense, I say a lot of things to different patients, depending on the patient, is you're going to be okay, or I hold their hands. I'm there. I'm, putting a hand so they can feel someone holding them as they go to sleep. Those little interventions go very far. Very far. So in my way, I've been trying to figure out where the mind goes when they're asleep.
Yeah.
And I'm keeping you alive, but I'm neutralizing your brain. I don't know where you are.
Where are you? Yeah.
I don't know where you are.
It's also something about humor and comedy. I've noticed, not to sound like I'm sickly, but I had a couple major surgeries at the beginning of this year, end of last year, beginning of this year. And I noticed that, like the anesthesiologists and the doctors, everyone's always joking with you and with each other. And it
Making
helps.
it light.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really helps. And I must be an oddball because every time I was going into surgery, like I don't take any drugs in life. I drink alcohol sometimes, and I mean any. I'm not against it. I just don't. I just don't do it. But when they give you the medicine before they, I am the furthest thing from stress. You've been there. I'm like, oh, this is amazing.
Happy juice. We call it happy juice.
Yes,
It's the happy juice. Yes.
So yeah, whatever they give you when you're.
It's like, can
when
I
you're
just take that home?
Yes.
They call it like a shot of tequila. That's literally what they call it. But when you're going from the prep room to the actual operating room, there's something they put in there.
Yes.
And it's immediately like, oh, wow, this is the best thing ever. It's like warm butter. It's great.
Yes, and you feel that warmth in your body.
Yeah.
Right? You're relaxing.
Yes.
So the blood flow changes to your limbs. So
Sure.
you feel all that relaxation, and you lose your inhibitions too.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like, to tie it back to your business, the mannerisms that you have with a patient like that, when you're starting to administer medicine that's, it has a psychoactive aspect to it, it has a lot to do with making them all of a sudden like, oh, I'm okay. This is great. Okay. Instead of, it goes back to the whole high school thing again, where you're not in the right environment. And I've heard stories of people taking psychedelics back in the day in the wrong environment, having a bad trip back in the 60s or whatever. And from not having your brain in the right place and not having a safe place to be, and who knows how much they took or what they mixed it with. And I love that you guys are able to take this and are making it into something that is really helping people. I feel like there's some major breakthroughs coming in this whole category.
I want to say too, for the clinic, we've had a few people come from, there's other clinics in Central Florida. We've had recently a few people coming in that have gone to some of the other clinics, or at least one for sure that I know of. And it's a totally different ball of wax. They put them in a room, they give them the ketamine, they leave. And they're on their own. They don't get talked to really.
Terrifying.
Yeah, and so they come to us, and they're like, "Oh my God,
Totally different.
That's the only way I would do it. By the way,
you know?
I would only do it with someone right there holding my hand.
Of
Whatever.
course.
Don't
Yeah.
take it. I'm not crying. You're crying. But someone holding my hand and making sure I'm not freaking out.
Yeah.
Trust me, we cry with the patient.
Yeah.
We laugh with them. We cry with them.
Sure.
I
connect with
personally,
them.
yeah,
Very
we,
connected.
exactly.
Yeah.
We are connected. And if
Yeah.
we are not in a good place at that moment, the session is not as good.
Yeah.
I have to prepare.
Everybody's open. You're all sort of open with each other that way.
Yes. I love you've kept it. It's a wellness center. So there's a different, there's something you expect different when you walk into some place called a wellness center.
Yeah,
You know
true.
what I mean?
Like overall."
overall. It's that spa-like kind of feel and very relaxed feel when you walk in.
Yes.
You kind of know it's a place you're going to be taken care of, you know?
That's the idea. And we're also very new. So we're expanding into more things and trying to give more services to our patients, whatever they need.
So what's for the future? Like what's coming up? What are things you want to incorporate into the wellness center?
We want to do functional medicine. So we want to, take the whole environment, the person as a whole, and say, okay, you have these problems. This is the manifestation of something. So we're not only going to look at your anxiety, we're going to look at your gut, at your lungs, at your habits, your nutrition, the way you're approaching your body. You have to take care of your body. You need this vessel. And as long as this vessel is healthy, you are going to be healthy too. You're connected to it. Remember, we're not a unity. We're a colony. We have millions of things inside of us. Exactly.
We're kind of the host for all of it, aren't we?
Yeah.
Like that's like we're just here. We're like hosting you
our
guys.
vessels.
But, have respect for, all the other life forms that you're kind of hosting and take care of, like you said, the vessel that they are trying to survive in. Feed them the right things, give them what they need so they can treat you good as well.
Yeah, it's almost like I'll get philosophical. It's a whole nother podcast, but I feel like it's almost like you guys are getting us back to the way that we're supposed to be. And somehow, whether it be society or environment, over years, over, however long, but we've gotten so far away from how we're supposed to be. We almost forgot how to be the way we're supposed to be. Because if you're hosting all these things, you would think it all just gets in line and works. But, it takes some work to get it right now.
It's from decades and decades of just kind of this little, right? Like the slight veer off the highway, and here we are.
Now you can't see the main road anymore, right? So
they're very easy pointers that we can make. A lot of the things that we eat are not really nutrition. They're products they're edible.
Yeah.
But they're not food.
Yeah.
So we eat a lot of those. They're products.
Yeah.
They're
Stop
just
shopping
products.
in those middle aisles.
Yep.
We know all that.
Exactly. There you go. There are people who are walking 2 miles a week, meaning they go from their bed to their car, from the car to the job, back, and they're not walking, they're not moving. You're sitting down all day long, you're not doing anything. We're not designed for that.
Nope.
You need to move.
We're biomechanical.
Exactly.
You think of that. You got to move. It's got to move.
And we're so detached from nature too.
There you go. That was my next point.
I'm sorry, I jumped in.
No,
That's
please,
a big one for me.
For both of us, we love nature, and you have to be in contact. Get dirty, touch a tree, admire something, feel the breeze, feel the sun in your skin.
Yeah.
You have to look at water. You have to take walks in nature.
Well, there's so many things too. So we talk about stuff like this all the time, but
we're kind of tuned in. Like I'll be almost pull over to see a sunset. Like, and I'm wondering how many people on this road don't even pay attention to it.
They don't.
Well, but being by water, think about when you go to the beach. How do you feel when you come? Who goes to the beach and say, "I'm in a really bad mood now"? Nobody, because there's physical things in the air, the negative ions that float around water. You breathe them in, they boost your mood, they boost serotonin. You touch the dirt, there's microbes in there's microbacteria that boost your immune system. That's why, like in nursing homes, they do soil therapy,
of course,
because it boosts the immune system. And we're so, like you said, decades and decades. It just keeps going a little bit. Oh, we're just going to introduce these TV dinners. They're fast. They'll make your life easier. Oh, we're just going to introduce this kid. And it's veered us totally nutritionally totally away from where we need to be.
And it's sick society.
Yeah.
Very sick society.
We don't want to spend time cooking.
Yeah.
Well, preparing that meal, touching those vegetables, cutting them and cleaning it's part of the process.
Yeah.
So it's supposed to be something that you make, not something that you pull out of the freezer, heat it up in the microwave, and off you eating. A product that is edible is not really nutrition.
Yep.
So we need all those things. I mean, I don't want to sound like a cliche, but
You know what, though?
It's true.
Even for someone with no medical experience whatsoever, I would think just most of us in the world, if we just listen to the things that you two just told us we need, those basic few things, every one of them, you're like, well, yeah, of course. I mean, it's like it seems obvious, but we don't do it. That's so crazy. We do forget.
Well, we also get in, just like you said, how they were watching that ball and they didn't see the gorilla. We're doing the same exact thing every day. Same exact thing every day.
And we don't see the other things.
We just had this talk about the monotony of our life.
We start feeling
and I
like,
said, okay, we got to change something because it's the same. We're just, you get up.
It's like Groundhog Day, you know?
You park in the same spot. You go,
and that's why for us, it's like this move and everything we're doing, it's like awesome. It means the next 3 to 5 years are going to be so dynamic and different.
And a change.
Because it is that day in, day out. Got to make something quick for the kids. I've been working all day. Nobody's stopping and going, well, hold on. Is this nutritious even? I remember a guy sued years ago because the white stuff inside an Oreo had no food product in it. If you dissected
Somebody
it all.
sued for that?
This was years ago. I have to look it up. Maybe I'll put a link in the show notes to it. But he sued because there wasn't any food in it. So it's like we know it's
that was surprising. That was surprising to him.
Do you know that to be able to call a product meat, it needs only 35% of meat?
Yeah, but see, this is a greedy situation that started that.
65% is what?
What is it? Surprise.
Silica.
Probably.
Yeah,
Probably.
there's silica in ground meat.
Oh,
Ground
goodness.
meat products. It's crazy.
Great. I was going to make burgers tonight.
Yeah. We'll get the good stuff.
Silica burgers.
We always
Get a
just
piece of
spend a little extra and get the good stuff.
Yeah,
But,
It's worth it.
So we're growing the business as far as like just adding more what am I trying? Services.
Services.
I love it.
Yes.
She does it at least one time every.
I have a blank out every single time.
I do it all the time.
It always happens.
We have a wonderful therapist who's also, psychedelics or ketamine assisted therapist, Solomon Richburg. He's also with us at the clinic. He's doing some free meeting groups for people that are just sometimes curious about it and just come on over. It's free. You sit there with other people who have done ketamine or have done other psychedelics. And you're less afraid when you see someone else that looks just like you, has the same problems as you, has not lost a finger because they did a psychedelic or, or nose
They're not
or
twitching.
Exactly. They don't look like an alien right now. So we're working into that.
They can probably tell you too what it was like.
Oh, absolutely. People love to share all those stories.
And you also have Sean Winfield that works for you as well, the coordinator and a personal coach.
Sean and I have a similar story as Julie, and both of us, Sean and I. We met through a third person, completely unrelated, and we immediately clicked because we are in the same path. Sean is a veteran. He's a combat veteran, and he feels very strongly about this. And we met probably a year and a half before I even opened the clinic. I was just thinking about it and studying, and we sat together and I said, he's like, why are you doing this? And I'm like, because I can't not do it. I have to.
Yeah.
So he was like, I'll be there with you every step of the way.
Wow.
And he has. He's the muscle around the clinic, he likes to say. But patients really like him. He is a veteran who brings a lot to the table.
Yeah, and he's been around that.
Exactly.
So it's kind of hard when somebody's talking about PTSD, especially from the veteran standpoint, when you're talking to somebody who's never experienced it. But when you've been, you're around somebody that's been like, yes, I've either seen people go through it. It's real. It's a real thing. I know what you're going through.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he's there. He connects to the patients. He makes the patients feel very safe. He's, making sure some people when they're dissociating, they can be very active and they try to stand up and they can hurt themselves. So he's there to help us and make sure that everybody's safe. You're not standing up from that chair.
Yeah.
You're not pulling an IV. You're not walking into a door or doing anything.
Yeah.
So, we're both women, and if you're under a ketamine, you are not going to have measure of your strength.
Right.
If you want to stand up, you are going to do it.
Yeah.
And I can throw myself at you, but it's not going to be enough. You need two people.
Yeah.
So he's there also to guarantee that patients are
The
safe,
safety.
that we are safe. You know, people are very vulnerable when they're there. So you want to know that someone is watching you outside of that door.
Right.
So we keep surveillance in the rooms. So there's one person with you at the room at all times. Plus, Sean is under surveillance. So we don't record anybody. We can't.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. That's not the point. But he's looking at every room. So he knows when to walk into a room, right? Somebody's very active, moving their hands
Just
or their
making
feet.
sure,
Whatever. Some people scream, some people cry. And it gets very intense.
Yeah.
So Bailey's there, the dog.
Yeah.
And Sean is there too. We're all watching, making sure that you're okay. When you hear someone screaming from the bottom of their soul, releasing that energy.
Wow.
So he's always there. And, it's just, we need that component of someone, like you said, that has that veteran point of view.
Yeah.
Right.
We want to expand into the veterans, offer them more services. It's very hard. This is an expensive treatment. I'm not going to lie about it or be shy about it. It is taxing, and we understand that veterans have great difficulty paying for it. So we're working with the administration, Veterans Administration. We're trying to convince them of the value of our services. We have a nonprofit that we established.
I was going to ask
in the
that,
works. It's in the works to be able to offer these services for the veterans.
Oh, that's amazing.
So when people qualify, women who are abused or in homes that need this support, they just went through a tremendous trauma.
Yeah.
So we want to offer those services to them.
Oh, I love that
So
you're starting the
It's a work in
nonprofit for that.
progress.
Yeah.
We're working very hard. I usually work 7 days a week.
And I'm sure there's other local nonprofits that you could partner with too, that maybe have, a certain portion of their proceeds that can help veterans with this kind of treatment if they need it. So if anybody is listening that's a part of a
that
small
would be
nonprofit.
wonderful. We're very open to anybody that wants to participate in any kind of form, volunteering with us, and just spreading the word. Be a witness to this, and just go out there and say, hey, this can help you. Let's get you to try something. And like I say, it doesn't even have to be with us.
Yeah.
Just go with anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just try it out. It's a different approach, and is offering great opportunities to heal people.
Oh, I love
Just try it out. Just go and do it. We get people that come and say, hey, this other clinic is closer to me. By all means, go. And if you just call me, they have my cell phone number.
Yeah.
Just call me and I will give you all the information I can or the support that you need. I will answer any question. I'll be there for you. Just call us. We're offering all of that just to make sure that people know what they can benefit from.
Yeah.
You know what? Like just listening to you right now, you can hear in your voice that it's almost like a desperation that you have. Just like for real, for people to please, I need you to get the help that you need. Yes. But you can hear it in your voice, and that's, I'm sure, stems from, your son going through this, and you feeling like there's nothing else that I can do right now. I have to move forward with this and help people.
And you know that it works.
That's very commendable.
Because not
Thank
everything
you so much.
does, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it sounds like I know it's great that you're saying, just go anywhere, but it also sounds like you guys have a very interesting recipe with the former military person on staff, with the dog,
with Julie helping
Julie, and with you guys all being there in there. Or nearby when someone's going through this. That sounds like a very specific recipe that I don't know anyone else is doing. So, I
don't think anybody else around here is, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. You may be onto something.
I hope that if somebody else is listening, they go at this with the same passion that we are going at. Yeah. Everybody that is at the clinic is as passionate as Julie and I.
Yeah.
Solomon is, Sean is, Bailey is. We're all into this. We all have our own trauma. We all have our own stories. And we're very open to say, yes, I have done this, and it has helped me in this way.
Yeah.
And we're here just to try. So if anybody, like you said, if anybody else is listening, just go at this with the passion that we're going. It doesn't work for 100% of the people. And we're not going to be able to help everybody.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, well,
But
no
we're
medicine
trying.
can help everybody.
We're trying
so, yeah.
very hard. We're trying very hard. We're working very hard to offer these to anybody. Just at least offer the knowledge that this is available. This is out there. Just go for it.
Where are you guys located?
Baldwin Park.
Okay. So you're close by.
Yeah.
And then how do people, they just go to your website and then?
Yes. At the website, they have our phone number. They
Okay.
can call immediately. They can send a form. It will get to my email immediately, and we usually answer within a couple of hours.
Excellent. We'll put a
on
link
top
to
of it.
we'll put a link to your website in the show
Thank
notes
you.
as well. So
Thank
as
you.
always, if you're listening, you just scroll down and click it.
Yeah.
And we put a lot of links in the website of everything that all those medical studies that I say, that then at the end say, oh, this is the proposed mechanism of action.
Medical studies are not fun to read. Just going to tell you. I had to do so many of them for school.
They're very long, exactly, very complicated.
Yes.
But we're always putting more information there. Everything I say, and sometimes it's not what you want to read.
I know.
It didn't work for this person in this specific case, but it's okay. I want them to know this is the good, the bad, and the ugly, and the beautiful.
Yeah.
Just try it.
Yeah.
Just be open for it.
I love it.
Are
Well,
you
thank you guys
closing or am I
so
closing?
much. Thank you so much for coming
you.
out. This has been really enjoyable for me. I'm super interested in the technology, let's call it.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for joining us.
I love
Come to
that. I love
visit.
he called it technology though, because it kind of is a technology.
It is. It
it's
is.
just it's not physical. Like you can't touch it like a real technology. I mean, I guess you could.
Well, I mean, there's technology that you can. I mean, I guess I think of the brain for some reason as technology in a way because I mean it's the master computer, right?
It certainly is.
Absolutely. Thank you
right.
for having us
Oh,
very
well,
You are
much.
thank you
so
so much.
welcome.
We have enjoyed very much.
Thank
So
you so
have
much.
we.
It was
Thank
very
you.
informative, guys. You answered all of our questions.
You really did. Thank you so much for
And then
that.
some, may I say. And
right.
also, guys, thank you so much for tuning in, listening to the show. We love that we can bring you small businesses like AirMed Wellness Center. And make sure to check them out. And please share if you know somebody that is suffering and could use this. Definitely make sure to share. And guys, remember, at the end of each and every day, it's all fine and dangy.
Would you mind